All right, Mr. D, we are in the family plot garden. Blueberries.
Blueberries, one of my favorite crops.
I like blueberries.
They're easy to grow. They grow well in this area, provided you plant the right type.
All right, okay.
And they have very little insect and disease pressure. Just really, really neat fruit to grow.
What's the right type?
Right type is a rabbiteye type.
Rabbiteye.
And unfortunately, if a lot of the stores sell highbush type, which work well in higher elevation areas of Tennessee, like the Smoky Mountains. But you need a rabbiteye type, and you have a list of those varieties at the Extension office.
I sure do.
What we have here, blueberries require cross-pollination, so you need at least 2 varieties. And we have Tiff Blue and Climax here. They're 2 of the more popular blueberry varieties in the southeast United States. They're proven. They do well. That's what I've got at my house.
Okay.
And they really do well. Time to plant blueberries is, preferably when they're dormant, but November to March. And so we're barely squeezing in on the late end of the planting season.
Okay.
I'm gonna plant them in I'm gonna dig a hole, pretty wide hole, not much deeper than, I want to make sure they're not planted any deeper than they're growing in the pot. But I'm going to add sphagnum or Canadian peat moss to the planting hole. For a home garden, it says 2 gallons of Canadian or sphagnum peat moss and mix it in with the soil at the planting hole.
Okay.
If you're a commercial grower, it's 2 or 3 shovelfuls of peat moss in the planting hole at the bottom of it, and then plant them. And we're going to do it the commercial way. And when it says 2 or 3, 3. That means 3. You can't get too much sphagnum peat moss in the planting hole. And if you have planted blueberries without putting sphagnum peat moss, and they're just kind of sitting there and they're not growing, dig them up,
put it in there,
put peat moss in the ground, and plant them on top of it, because the peat moss holds moisture, and it helps this young plant grow because it increases the water holding capacity. It also is more acidifying. And blueberries are they do best in a very acid soil, 4.8 to 5.2.
Yeah, which is low.
I prefer 4.8.
Wow.
So your blueberries kind of need to be off to themselves, because they're pretty much the only plant in this garden landscape that needs an acid environment.
Okay.
Azaleas and camellias, if you can have your blueberries around your azaleas and camellias, or azaleas, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
But you need to keep them away from our blackberries and our other fruit trees, figs, peaches. Almost all the others require a high pH, 6.3 or something like that is better.
How about that?
But in a commercial planting, 5 to 6 feet apart is what they recommend planting them in a row.
Okay.
With the rows being 10 to 12 feet apart. Give yourself some room, because this rabbiteye type blueberry can get up to 20 feet tall if you let it.
Wow.
And you can kind of control that with your pruning shears.
Okay.
But give yourself some room. I know we're already marked out here, and I think we have them 10 feet apart is what we have them here. And that way they'll be individual shrubs, and you can walk completely around them and pick them and prune them and all that. And that would be the best way to do it if you have room. Don't have room, plant them 5 or 6 feet apart, and you'll have about a 8 or 10 foot shrub.
Jeez.
Long. It'll be long. You won't be able to go between them. They'll eventually grow together and intertwine together.
I think it'd be best going around them.
Yeah, I prefer, if you have the room, I prefer to do that.
Have room.
So we've got our spot marked here, and I guess I'm ready to, let me kind of
let me move this one.
get it out of the way.
Yeah, get that old Bermuda out of there, right?
Yeah.
Cut it up a little bit.
For the sides.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think we got too much clay here, I want to make sure that the roots don't have any trouble penetrating.
All right.
Okay, I think that's got it in pretty good shape, so I'm ready to add my sphagnum peat moss.
Peat moss.
2 or 3 good shovelfuls. Watch out, it's a little dusty now.
Oh, yeah.
Which will help this wet soil we've got. That's 1.
All right.
2.
2. There you go.
3. We'll go with this Tiff Blue. Check the roots out.
Aha.
It doesn't look too root bound. I don't think there's any need to do any scoring.
Not too bad.
I'm just going to plant that just like it is.
Okay.
Let's see that. Look about the right depth. I want it the the same depth that it grew in the nursery. All right. Just start adding the soil back.
Now, do you like to pack it in as you go?
Nah, not
Okay.
really.
I know some folks like to do that.
What I need to do is water it in after we get it set.
Mm-hmm.
Going to have to fight the Bermuda grass.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Post
Mm-hmm.
does a pretty good job, and it's cleared to use on blueberries. Be very careful with Roundup around any fruit. Roundup does strange things to grapes and peaches and things like that. So I prefer not to use Roundup around my fruits.
Now, while you're doing that, what about fertilizing? Of course, it already has fertilizer.
Yeah, don't fertilize the first year.
All right.
Blueberries, you can do more damage over fertilizing than under fertilizing.
All right. All right.
So go very light. Do not use ammonium nitrate. It's better not to use nitrate forms of fertilizer. When you add your nitrogen, probably need to use ammonium sulphate. That will lower the pH because of the sulfur. Kind of a rule of thumb with planting blueberries for me is to take off about 1/3 of the growth. I'm not going to worry about 1/3, but I am going to take off all the fruit and blooms, because this first year I want all the energy to go to growing a plant. This little blueberry has quite a bit of fruit on it,
Yes,
as you can see.
Yes, it does.
And it really handicaps the plant if you leave it on here. It will make it grow off a lot slower. All right, time to add a little sulfur.
Okay.
Like I said, I think we need to drop it 1 whole point from about 5.8 to 6 to 4.8 to 5, and that is 3/10 of a pound of elemental sulfur per 10 by 10 foot area. And so we're going to fertilize about a 10 by 10 foot area. I've got it pre-weighed out here.
Okay.
I want it to be as uniform. And I'm going to stay upwind. I'm sorry, camera folks. That's a few clumps here, and I'm going to step on the clumps and break them. It takes a pretty good while for this to change the pH, for it to get completely mixed in the soil, but it is water soluble. So we ought to be okay. We've done 2 of the most important things. We've applied sulfur to lower the pH, and we have the sphagnum peat moss in the planting hole. Right. So this blueberry is well on its way to being a success.
All right, Mr. D, we appreciate that.
Good deal.
Can't wait to see what it looks like later. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please click the subscribe button below.